Good evening, good evening. Want to do some paper 3 preparation. So we are going a bit later than usual, but we definitely want to get some paper 3 preparation in. We're using 2022 specimen paper for that preparation. It is tomorrow, the paper for the January 2025 exam. So we want to prepare even by reviewing a past paper. So just giving persons a couple minutes to join up, those who might still be awake. This will be a good opportunity for them to see our paper 3 is done. For those who may not have had access to it, they may have been doing it for the first time. Just for you to check it out. So we are going to get into it very shortly. Right, so we will be doing it. We'll be going through paper 3 is a case study. So it means they give you a scenario, they give you a situation, and they expect you to answer all the questions. It is about 12 questions. And once you answer those 12 questions, you should be good. You should be golden. You should be really good. If you answer those 12 questions, you should be happy, in fact. So let us see. Good evening, everyone. I am wishing you the best of luck tomorrow. Tomorrow does have the paper 1 as well and the paper 3. So I know it's a heavy day for human and social biology. We will do another live tomorrow morning just to reinforce what you already know. Or maybe do 2, do one for some more multiple choice and one for more paper 3. So we want to get into it now. Good evening, good night, wherever you are. Some of you already full into the night. So we want to use this 2022 paper. This is the paper 3-2. Yeah, it's an alternate paper for those who do not have an SBA mark. The usual instructions apply. You are expected to answer all the questions. Yeah, and your favorite principal here would guide you through how answers should look for these questions. Yeah, the time limit for this paper is 1 hour and 15 minutes. So once you read your instructions, you are writing all your answers on the paper provided, and that's okay. Yeah. So let us get into it. You have the instructions for the case study. Remember, case study is a scenario that they put together that they want you to review. They want you to consider and provide your expert feedback on the situation, right? You are supposed to be an expert, in this case, it's human and social biology. And in this scenario, you are an expert in whatever they're asking you. So let's get into it. The case study is as follows. The town of Castries, located at the base of a mountain range, is usually supplied with water from a well. The well has run dry and an alternative water source is needed. The government is considering 5 rivers that run through the mountain range as potential sources of potable water. Each river differs primarily on land usage patterns as follows. So we have these 5 bullet points. These are the rivers that they just mentioned. The Chanchich River flows through an area where there are many pig farms. The Black Bay River flows through an untouched forest that is, it has not been disturbed in any way. All right, so untouched forest is virgin forest. It has not been logged, nothing has happened to it, it hasn't been burnt by forest fires, it's the first time the trees grow up and it's still there. The Caroni River flows through 2 other towns before reaching Castries. The Douche River flows through a deforested region where logging occurs. The Demerara River flows through agricultural land. Now, just looking at the names of these rivers, I see a kind of blending through the Caribbean. Does anyone know all the rivers? I'm not too sure if they are real rivers. I know the Caroni, I know the Black Bay, Demerara, but a Black Bay is such a common river. I know that is in at least 2 Caribbean countries. So it seems it's a mix. They use a mix of names. Does anyone know where the Douche River is? The Chanchich River is? I wonder if they made them up. Yeah, do give a shout in the comment section if one of these rivers or multiple of these rivers are from your location. Because even the town Castries, I'm thinking Castries, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent, but there could be Castries in other places as well. Yeah, you could let me know in the comments if there's a Castries on the island or the Caribbean territory you are in. So let's go. You are employed by the government of Castries to investigate the quality of water in these rivers. Oh, so that's your expertise. And to make a recommendation as to which river should be used to supply the town's water. Right? Write a suitable statement of the problem. 2 marks. Now remember, this is supposed to be about 12 questions long. So it is an hour and 15 minutes. So don't expect it will be 50 marks. No, it is not, right? It's just a few marks. They tell us the amount of marks at the end. So this problem statement starts off at 2 marks and they give you 3 lines to write. You don't really need 3 lines because it's just a problem statement. A problem statement is you just want to say what is the problem in a statement form. Simple enough, right? So, and they gave us the problem. They told us the problem. A well has run dry, an alternative water source needs to be obtained, right? The government considering 5 rivers, well, they went on to explain more, right? Is usually supplied with water from a well. So we know it have human activity, some kind of human activity, because it's obvious, right? The only reason you need some other thing is because some human activity coming. A human activity is affecting the water supply, right? Or the quality of the water in the rivers. That's the problem, right? You need to identify, and we could type it. Oh, I already have it. Human activities affect the water supply. So that's your problem statement. You do have to write as concise as me. Remember, I principal doing this for many years, right? So I write very concise, but you could write more than that. You could say a man's impact on the water supply has affected it, right? You could use different words. That's fine. Right? So 2 marks for that. Once you have in some kind of human activity, because that's the only thing, right? Because remember, you want to identify some kind of pollution, some kind of contamination, and that is only done by humans. It couldn't be a dog, it can't be birds, it can't be any animals. It could only be humans. So we know humans are affecting the water supply, the river supply, the quality of the water in the river. State the objectives of the investigation. And they gave you that right down to the bottom here. You're employed by the government of Castries to investigate the quality of water in these rivers. That's your purpose, right? Well, there are 5 rivers, right? You could say that to determine the quality of water in the 5 rivers for the town of Castries. All right. So let's say that. To determine which river can provide the best quality of water for Castries. That's what you want. That's your objective. They give you that right here. They put it in a nice written out sentence. You could write it. You could write it back, right? To me, right? Let me do some highlighting so you can see where I'm pulling the answers from, right? That's where. So far, we in 2 questions, just a few more to go. The methodology. In conducting your research, you tested the water in each river for the presence of the following contaminants: nitrates, phosphates. Remember, nitrates and phosphates are held with algal bloom, right? So you want to test water riverways for that. Suspended sediments, E. coli bacteria. Identify the primary method of data collection used in the study, meaning you have to go out and sample these rivers: Changes River, the Black Bay River, the Caroni River, the Douche River, the Demerara River. You have to sample them. That's called experimentation. You have to go out, sample the rivers, and come and carry to your lab and run tests on them. That is an experiment. Yeah. So I will just write in experimentation. Yeah. Conduct experiments to test samples of water from each river as experimentation. Describe the process by which the water in the rivers could be tested to determine the presence of E. coli. And I am hoping everyone would know this. You would know this from the whole doing the streaking. When you do the streaking, and let me see if I remember this, could draw the streaking pattern. The streaking pattern, you want to go across like this in the Petri dish. I hope persons remember that when they're preparing this. So you will have a Petri dish. You would have filled it with agar. The agar would have solidified. You would have taken samples of the water from each river on a swab or a wand, and you would do this streaking zigzag pattern, and then you would leave the Petri dish for at least 24 hours. Some books say 36 hours, but it is at least 24 hours. And then you come back and you inspect for colonies of bacteria. All right. And you obviously you would mention that you're doing this for each sample from the river. So you have to do this. You would have to repeat that at least 4 times because remember it's 5 rivers. Yeah. Let so let me just clear this up. So let's write. So you and obviously there's a methodology, right? So you should be labeling things 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. Right? I am just going to write the steps in order, right? But if you were doing this paper, you would have said step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, etc. All right. Uh, in a petri dish, you add the agar. You could use a wand, a loop. You could use swab. From the river. All right. You want to um, let for these 24 hours, and then you will come back and observe for growth. All right. You want to observe for growth of colonies. And then you obviously have to repeat for each one. Right? And that would get you your marks. Obviously, you could put in more details. Some persons might say, oh, you want to cover the petri dish before letting it rest. Yeah, but that should be obvious, right? Because petri dish comes with covers. I don't know if persons know that. Petri dish is 2 halves, right? So they come with covers. So when you finish use a petri dish, you are supposed to cover it back. Yes, someone has just identified is the same thing for the paper one where they ask you about testing the water and they give you the order and you have that's a very good observation. You are well practiced in the paper ones. But yes, it is basically the same steps. That was J. Moses. Very good catch. Very good catch. All right, so these are the general steps. So yeah, you could put in that the petri dish, you have to cover it back. Yes, I'm not putting in that because I mean I'm doing this for years. I know that a petri dish have 2 halves in it. You leave it to incubate at least 24 hours. Once you set a time more than 24 hours, you will get the mark. If you said 36 hours, if you said 48 hours, if you said 72 hours, you will get the mark. All right. You come back, you observe it for growth. Obviously, you have to do this for all. It doesn't matter where you put this repeat, right? If you had said do it for each sample along the way, then you would have gotten the mark for the repeat. But I was doing it for one and then repeat at the end. So the mark still works out the same way. Much marks, 8 marks for these questions. Yeah. And I would recommend students draw the zigzag pattern, right? The streaking pattern. All right. Just how I drew it for you just now. It's way much easier than trying to describe how to streak in words. You would say, "Oh, you streak um, horizontally, followed by a diagonal streak leading into another. Repeat that 4 times before going vertically." That I recommend to my students. You draw the zigzag pattern. You will get the mark for the drawing. Question 5. State one limitation of this method of data collection. And I'm saying this answer is obvious to every Caribbean citizen because we have a dry season, we have a rainy season, and each one of us has experienced it. So the time or the season of when you collecting the water matters. The time of the year or the season of the sample collection. That is the limitation. Yeah? We have dry season and rainy season. Everyone knows that, right? What the Calypsonians say? Hot sun and plenty rain. That's what we have. So you know that that will affect when you collect the rivers. Some rivers completely dry out in rainy season. Yeah? So this is a easy answer. Once you are confident, you know that you're getting that mark. All right, so they're going on to presentation of the data, which means results, right? Results. Remember, you were the expert who running these tests, so you just finished the methodology. We talked about the limitation of the method, and now we're going into results. Using the grid, well, you have the results here. Remember, they told you test for nitrates, phosphates, suspended sediments, and bacteria. Now they ask you using the grid provided on page 7, plot the bar graph for the data of E. coli colonies. So it means you're using this last row here. All right, you're using this last row here. And you know when you're plotting graphs, you plot x-axis first, and then you plot y-axis. They provide the graph for you, and I have already inserted how the graph should look. Yeah, so you have the rivers, you have the various rivers, and you have the values on the y-axis. This is expected. You know the title will be E. coli per what, right? The title, they give you the title. Huh? So look at here. Remember, take the information from the table. All right. So we have the rivers. We have the colonies per 100 milliliters. Yeah. So the Transit River, it was to go up to 900. Nice. The Black Bay River is one something. How much is it? 130, 560, right? This is 560, 120, and then the Demerara River, bringing it up at 300. So this is how your graph should have looked. See how it's nice and spaced? The spacing, it should all be equal. You can't leave 2 spaces, put the bar, then leave 1 space because you're running out of space. No, right? It should be nicely spaced. Your graph will take up at least 50% of the page, or more than 50% of the pages used here. So this is a graph that you will get full marks for. Yeah, let me just make it a little bigger, smaller. Persons could see the whole thing. All right, so nice graph to get some marks. So let's continue on to the other question. Get back a little bit. How else could you present the data And two style of graphs that your HSB syllabus requires you to know. So if it is already in a bar graph, the other option is a line graph. All right. So it's a line graph that you are doing for question 7, and that's 1 mark. Boom. See how quick this paper is going? We already reached question 7, right? So it's not really that much. And I tell students so many times, persons say, "Sir, paper 3 harder than the SBA." And I was like, no, no, it is not. Paper 3 is often, whether it's for any of the other sciences or HSB or integrated science, paper 3 is usually way easier than if you had done the SBAs. The SBAs, you would have been working on it for hours upon hours, even by a time factor. The paper 3 is a lot easier. Yeah, the paper 3 is what? Just one-on-one, 15 minutes. The SB is to get a SBA where you get total, you have to work on that anywhere for at least 4 hours. Yeah, typing it up and everything. Yeah, paper 3 always works out to be easier than the SBA. Somebody is saying they had histogram. Remember, histogram is a style of bar graph. Yeah, a histogram is a style of bar graph, so you wouldn't get a mark if you had put histogram as your answer. All right, they wanted a different style of graph. That's what the question asks, right? Other way, right? So histogram is a bar graph already. So you would not have gotten the answer. The answer is line graph. All right, so analysis and interpretation of data. We have the acceptable levels of the things you were testing for, the phosphates, the nitrates, the suspended sediments, and the E. coli, right? They have it here for E. coli. It's an excellent if it is between 0 to 49 number of colonies per 100 milliliters. Yeah, it is poor if it is above 300. Yeah. So they want you using the information in table 1 and 2 to place a tick in table 3. So you are completing this table. So here's where in the exam, everybody will be turning the pages back and forth, because you need to see the values, right? Likewise, we will have to do that too, right? But in the exam, I mean, it's much easier to turn the pages. So we placed in a tick. Let me just find my tick symbol. I could actually just draw a line, but I could use a check mark as well. So let's check it out. You place in a tick where things are good. So let's look at the Transit River. Um, we know that 14, 50, 10, and we want these things to be as low as possible. Yeah. So we scroll back up, we see 1.34, so that will get a tick. We see it's way less than anything. We see it is more than the 10 for suspended sediment, and this is 900, right? Remember, we wanted it. If it's over 300, it's poor, right? So we get in 2 ticks right here for this one and this one, right? So we would put those ticks in for, oh, I can't make a tick. For nitrates and phosphates, you would have put a tick. The suspended sediments failed, and the E. coli, well, that was horrible. That was $900. So super duper fail. All right. So those would be left blank. Black Bay River, remember again, it's 14, 50, 10, and then we want it as low as possible. 14, 50, 10. Right, so nitrates pass, phosphates pass, 14, 50, 10, right, so 7.3 is less than 10, and then 130, 130, let's see where 130 falls. 130 is fair. 130 is fair. So we could still get a tick. 130 is fair, right? So we get the nitrates, we get the phosphates. We did get the yes, and we get a fair. So remember, they just asked you for acceptable levels. They never told you it had to be in good condition or bad condition. It's acceptable levels, right? Fear is acceptable, right? Doing Caroni 14, 50, 10. Well, look at Caroni already. Quite up at 560. So we know that feeling. All right. So Caroni 1.15. Yes, yes. Ooh, suspended sediment is higher than 10. So that fail, and well, we know the equalize fail. Let's do douche one time since we're here. Right, yes. Nitrates pass, phosphates pass. Ooh, suspend sedimentation fail. Likewise, Demerara sedimentation fail. 120. 120 is kind of really good. The 300, that just reached the failing mark. So we know we're getting ticks here, 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 and these who fail and a tick here. Just have to memorize this pattern. Memorize this pattern. Right. Right, we get a tick here, here, we get a tick 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 here, and then we get a tick in the middle here. Right, and this is how you should look. This is how you should look. All right, this is how you should look. 5 marks, right? You get a mark for each river provided you do it correctly. All right. Question 9. Identify the river which has the highest level of E. coli bacteria present in the water and suggest one likely reason for this. The highest level, which means we're reading our graph, it had one with 900. So that was this first one. So you know that is your answer, right? And if we remember clearly, what was the reason they told us? The pig farm. It runs through the pig farm. So we are suggesting the waste from the pig farm is going to the river, right? The waste from the pig farm it is the Chanchich River, right? The Chanchich River is the pig. Ooh, we're going there. The pig waste. Yeah, oh, okay. I like how it's written here. Pig farms mean pig feces. You know that is ending up in the river somehow. All right, that is ending up in the river somehow. Is I'm seeing someone saying pie chart. If you're still referring to that question where they asked you what was an alternative way to present this to present the data, a pie chart may not be acceptable because you don't have the full values, right? You have measured values, but you don't have a percentage or an approximation. What could be the highest value? All right. So remember, a pie chart is pieces of a whole. You do not have a whole. All right. So pie chart would not be the acceptable answer. Identify the river which has the highest amount of suspended sediments present in the water and suggest one likely reason for this occurrence. So we go into suspended sediments. So for this paper, you see how much back and forth you have to go. The highest suspended sediment was the Chanchich River. Again, no, Demerara. No, dude, 31. 31, the Douche River, right? And what's the reason? Well, we just have to go back to the top and see what that river, it flows through a deforested region where logging occurs. Oh, so the forest is very disturbed by the logging. Logging means they are cutting down trees regularly, whether via equipment or hand, and the trees have to be brought out. So the soil is very disturbed. And if you have less trees, it means you have, when rain falls or anything, more soil moves. So we're talking about soil erosion. All right. So you could say all of that. So let me just remember the spelling. Right? Due to logging, the soil is very disturbed. All right? Trees falling, you are more likely to have soil erosion because you do not have the tree roots to hold the soil. Yeah? So it's very disturbed. Identify the river which has the highest level of phosphates and nitrates present in the water and suggest one likely reason for the occurrence. All right, so we're looking this time at phosphates and nitrates, phosphates and nitrates, phosphates and nitrates, and that means you need to add them up. You need to add these things up so you know that 1.34 plus 0.63, you add it up. But by even looking at this, you could say that Demerara is the highest, right? This is 2.61. All right, so we know that Demerara is the highest, right? Just remember, refresh our minds on what kind of activity is going on there. Agricultural land. So it means the fertilizer, the nitrates and the phosphates is from the fertilizer. All right, it runs through its agricultural land. So we have the fertilizer, right? The nitrates, phosphates, that's the fertilizer that you use to help with the growing of your crops. It is somehow being washed into the rivers for whatever reason. Yeah. Into part B. In the river with high levels of nitrates and phosphate, eutrophication is likely to occur. Yes. Suggest one social and economic implication for the tongue of Castries. And they want one each. So you could label it. You could say social and write it. You could say economic and write it. Yeah. And if you have, so social comes to mind very quickly. It means all the river lines, all the going to the river and bathing and everything. It out. No more river parties, no more. That is gone. And that's the aesthetic of the river, right? You go by the river, you chill, you jump in the river, you splash about in the river, right? If you have eutrophication and fish dying and things, that becomes unsightly. So the aesthetics, bad. If the river is used as an attraction, as a tourist attraction or anything, some rivers are really awesome, right? You could depending on what country you market it, right? Some rivers might have certain animals in it, otters, it could have caimans, it could have, right, a special species. So you could use that as tourism. So that's a social and the economic thing if you lose source of income. Let me just put some things in. Um, River fund will cease due to, right? I'm just calling it river fun, right? So we mean the enjoyment, the recreation, all right? We talk about the tourism, that is gone. So those are social things. If anyone's livelihood, um, source of if anyone's source of living was made from the river. So you know this is economic, right? If you lived off the river, it means now that the river polluted and it have an algal bloom, your income dries out. Yeah. Plus, if the river unhealthy, if the river polluted, you'll get sick. And recovering from diseases costs money. Yeah. So, right, the river can make persons sick. So you would need money for to be treated. All right. Whether it's the government providing the money or you going to a private doctor, the point is money. Money runs healthcare. All right. So they just asked for one each. So I've given more than one for each. Um, what other answers do you all think could fit in here? You all could tell me in the chat. Eh? I'm sure this is not the exhaustive list. You can always add to it if anything comes to you. So we are getting closer and closer to the end of because this is a report that is happening. So we reach recommendations. Recommend to the government of Castries, the river that would be best suited to provide potable water to the town and give two reasons for your recommendation. And you know you pull in all this information from the one with the ticks, with all the ticks. So we know the Black Bay River. And if I remember correctly, this was the undisturbed river, right? Yes, the untouched forest. It hasn't been disturbed in any way. All right. So that's it. So it's the Black Bay. All right. You need to give two reasons. So you know it has best quality of water, um, with respect to the contamination, you know they were the lowest. It is undisturbed. So it will even benefit its, and because it's undisturbed, it will cost less money if you use it as a supply. If you go to use another river, remember we just mentioned that if anyone gets sick or anything, they need to be treated with, which costs money. So if you use this river, it will also cost less money, right? And it's the government, well, we know it's the government putting this bill, right? So that's an additional reason as well. Suggest one other river that the government of Castries could utilize to provide the town with potable water. Justify your recommendation. So they're asking you basically here, which one is second best? And the second best. Going back up to the table, well, look at our second best right here, the Douche River. The Deuce River. So you say that, right? And it's obvious, right? It hit 3 out of 4 of the markers you want, right? All the others are on 2. So you know that it hit in 3 out of 4. It didn't make it 75%, right? The other one, the Black Bay, was 100%, the Lucia 75%, and the other three is 50%. So you know this has the better markers, right? So right? So you want this river. Uh, we already talked about the 75% of the requirements for clean, for potable water. So, right? So it has 3 out of 4. That's what 75% is, right? Um, it wouldn't cost as much money as if you went to some of the other rivers, right? And the only one that's missing is, if I remember correctly, sediments. Sediments, compared to the other things, easier to get rid of than than the than if it was phosphates, nitrates, or E. coli. Well, E. coli is the worst one, right? But it's the easier thing, right? So the water just needs to be filtered and screened, and it will become a nice potable water. So that's one way you could go. All right, that's one way you could go. Suggest 2 ways in which the waterways of Castries could be improved. So we're looking for any issues with the rivers. Remember, all 5 rivers are rivers for Castries. So you just want to mention the reasons the river given problem. So the Chanchit River had pig farms. Get rid of the pig farms. Move the pig farms. Um, the Caroni River had 2 other tongues, which means urbanization, that is sewage, that is black water. You need to set up proper sewage treatment plants. The Demerara River flows through agricultural, no, is Demerara? Yeah, the Demerara River. You need to, well, what's the Demerara River? Let me see, uh, right, yeah. Right? So these rivers, right? So get rid of the pig farm. Once you get rid of the pig farm, it will be better. You need to control the logging, right? So you just want to suggest reasons to counter these issues that they presented up here. Get rid of the pig farms, start to put laws and things to regulate the logging. Maybe start a login body to supervise the login or something. So, right? Educate the people on the farmers on the agriculture, right? So you could put any of those answers. So move the pigs, educate the farmers, right? Um, you want a sewage treatment plant for proper disposal for the urbanized areas. All right. So all these things, well, they just ask you to, uh, right? So any problem, any issue you had that they gave you, you could just put a solution to it, and you will get marks. And that's it. That's the paper, 40 marks. And you should see the words end of test. What do you all think? Yeah, short enough. All right. So this was some of the answers, uh, some of the possible answers for this 2022 paper. This is the paper 3.2, the alternative paper for human and social biology. Yeah. Uh, I know we went later than expected, but that's okay. I'm glad that we were able to do it and complete a paper. We will try again to do another one tomorrow morning before the exam. The exams should be afternoon exams, so we will try to squeeze one in again just to help you get that confidence going into the exam. Want to wish everyone all the best in their exam. Your favorite principal, trying to make sure you get that one. Ciao.